Did you know there are philosophers who think nothing is better than something? Oh yeah. Arthur Schopenhauer, a 19th century German philosopher, and therefore legally required to be depressing, argued that life is basically just suffering and that non-existence might actually be preferred. Schopenhauer's not alone. David Benatar is another example. Professor Benatar is, unfortunately, not related to Pat, so instead of getting a hit single called Love is a Battlefield, but Existence is Worse, he gave us a book entitled Better Never to Have Been, The Harm of Coming into Existence. It was published in 2006, and it became a bestseller for people who hate baby showers. But wait, there's more. Simon Knudsen, while he was a Stockholm University PhD student in philosophy, argued an empty world might be ethically preferable to a populated one. Basically asking, should we all just not? Even one of my personal favorites, Wesley in The Princess Bride, says, "Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something." Schopenhauer would have given that line 5 stars on Goodreads. Now let's turn our attention to physicist John Wheeler, who in the 1950s coined the term quantum foam. By the 1970s, scientists were proposing that our entire existence might be the product of random fluctuations in that foam. Hold on to that thought. We'll come back to it in a minute. If I were a materialist and thought our existence was just random quantum fizz burping out meaningless stuff, I might be tempted to agree with these cheerful philosophers. Maybe nothing would be better than something. But I'm not a materialist, and I don't believe we're just random quantum fizz. Actually, when I was a kid, before first grade, I was a full-blown solipsist. Didn't know the word, obviously, but I genuinely wondered if I was dreaming up everything. Mom, Dad, the black and white TV, the neighbor kids, my sisters, all figments of my imagination. There was just one problem: pain. Pain was not imaginary. Pain was very, very real. Like when I dropped a brick on my bare big toe in the basement. Solipsism shattered right along with my toenail. So there are at least 2 things: me and pain. But why me? And why pain? Why not nothing at all? Let's take a quick look at the mechanics of nothing. It turns out nothing is, well, something else, depending on who you ask. Remember that quantum foam I mentioned earlier? What Dr. Wheeler was talking about was that if you emptied out space-time, there would still be random fluctuations going on at the Planck scale. That's where Planck units live, the tiniest unit that our physics can observe, and they act a lot like the 3D pixels of reality. These puppies are fluctuating all the time. In 1973, physicist Edward Tryon proposed that one of these fluctuations in a pre-universe sea of quantum foam caused our entire universe to pop into existence. So, in scientific terms, an eternal, infinitely large chunk of something resembling space-time filled with Planck units that resemble pixels of reality fluctuates in such a way as to generate entire universes. And one of those fluctuations was our universe. And this is what science calls nothing. For the philosopher, nothing isn't something else. It's nothing else. No quantum foam, no laws of physics, no fluctuation, no bangs, big or otherwise. I don't know about you, but to me, the philosopher's version of nothing makes a lot more sense. If nothing can fluctuate universes into existence, that's not nothing. That's really something. And how did the quantum fluctuation get there in the first place, and why is it there? But if true nothingness ever existed, we wouldn't be here to talk about it. Yet here I am, thinking. I think, therefore I am. And what I'm thinking is maybe real nothingness, not quantum fizz, not potential, just absence, should be the default. The trouble is, I know I'm real, And so was my sore toe. So let's take a closer look at that quantum foam. Personally, I'm not buying it. But for the sake of not wasting a good metaphor, let's imagine quantum foam isn't just physics, it's potential. What if God turns out to be the ultimate solipsist, dreaming existence into being, and the quantum foam is his canvas, brimming with possibility? Do you remember Mario 64? Now that was a game. You beat levels, grabbed stars, stomped Bowser 3 times, rescued Peach, ate cake. And that was the point. Super Mario 64 isn't just a game. It's also a computer program, like Microsoft Excel. Except in Excel, there's no cake when you finally get all your spreadsheets organized. They're both programs from a scientific point of view. But that's where the similarities end. And here's a fun tidbit. Mario was originally built for a clunky cartridge console and a bulky CRT screen. Shoot, you can still play the game on a modern desktop. Reality might work the same way. Quantum foam or string theory or a 2D holographic projection or whatever else science uncovers might be the mechanics. It might be the framework. But frameworks aren't the story. If God is the ultimate solipsist, then the quantum foam or whatever could be his imagination's playground, the hardware that makes existence possible. Yet what really matters is the story, the purpose, the dream behind it all. Whether or not quantum foam exists, maybe what truly is fundamental isn't the framework, it's the dreamer. Well, we're about to plunge into the deep end, but before we do, if you know what's good for me, you'll hit that like button and subscribe. And now let's get down to business. So enough about frameworks in video games. That dive into the deep end is about something a bit more serious and about as real as it gets. Pain. If God is the ultimate solipsist, he's got the same problem I had with that brick in the basement. Pain makes perfect sense in a random universe. If reality is governed by chance, by indifferent quantum chaos, then pain is just one more byproduct of the randomness, neither surprising nor meaningful. But if God dreams the world into existence, how does he reconcile pain with his dream? So what is it? Meaningless chaos or something more purposeful? Let's look to a philosopher and a saint with very different views to help us frame this thought. Friedrich Nietzsche and Padre Pio. For Nietzsche, a 19th century philosopher, the universe is purposeless. To him, pain was part of life's chaotic nature. He even had a famous line, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger," that speaks to this. But he ultimately believed that existence just wasn't worth the cost. No inherent meaning in the universe, and suffering becomes just another hurdle that we must overcome. It certainly was not something that justified the act of living. Pain was simply a burden, a feature in a meaningless existence. On the other hand, Padre Pio, a 19th and 20th century Catholic saint, saw pain not as random chaos, but as something sacred. He believed existence was worth every ounce of suffering. To him, suffering was a way to share in Christ's own sacrifice, to participate in a divine story filled with love, redemption, and meaning. Pain just something to endure? No. To him, it was a thread woven into the tapestry of God's plan. It was a way to connect to something eternal and purposeful. And that's the crux. Nietzsche rejected existence as ultimately not worth it. Pain was too high a price for a purposeless reality. Padre Pio embraced existence as absolutely worth it. Pain carried sacred meaning as part of a purposeful reality. And here's the paradox. In a meaningless existence, pain makes sense, but it can make life not worth living. In a purposeful existence, pain doesn't make sense, but meaning makes it worth living. At least that's how I see it. What about you? Pain remains a mystery. I don't understand why it exists, much less why it has to hurt so much. Senseless pain especially defies explanation. It seems to me that if God is the ultimate solipsist, then he has to take responsibility for the pain. His resurrection transforms pain from a senseless mystery into the possibility of redemption, even if the full purpose still remains hidden. Through his resurrection, he offers the ultimate hope. So yes, pain is still a mystery, at least to me, but can it also be redeemed? For some, it's hard not to wonder if nothing would be better than something. Nietzsche might agree, but I don't. I believe in something because I believe someone meant it to be. Maybe God has been dreaming. Maybe he's been dreaming of you and me.